Jimin's last words before the encore make Jungkook can't sing, love that finally can't be hidden anymore. Microphone heart with arrow loudly crying face, don't sing the encore for me, sing it because you finally chose yourself. The words slip into Jungkook's ear like a blade wrapped in velvet, and the stadium roars without knowing that the sound he is about to make will not be a note, but a fracture. The lights dim, the band holds, and time pauses in the narrow space between Jimin's breath and Jungkook's throat tightening shut. Sweat cools on Jungkook's neck as he grips the mic stand. The metal is cold, steady, reliable, everything his chest is not. He tastes iron where he's bitten his lip too hard. The screens flare with his face, magnified, every flicker of fear impossible to hide. Somewhere behind him, the crowd chants their names like a prayer that demands an answer. He swallows. Nothing comes out. Jimin steps back into the shadows, heart hammering, hands shaking in a way he has trained himself never to show. He keeps his gaze forward because if he looks at Jungkook now, he will crumble. He knows this because it has almost happened before: airports at dawn, hotel hallways that smell like carpet cleaner and loneliness, practice rooms echoing with unfinished confessions. He knows the exact way Jungkook's shoulders tense before he breaks. He said the words anyway, the music director signals. Again. Jungkook raises the mic. Again. The sound system hums like a held breath. Then Jungkook laughs, a raw, broken sound, and lowers the mic to his chest. Tears blur the lights into 1,000 burning stars. The crowd gasps, then cheers louder, misunderstanding bravery for performance. He turns, just a little, enough to catch Jimin's reflection in the black gloss of the stage floor. Jimin remembers why he chose tonight. Not because it was safe. Because it was honest. They have lived inside choreography for years, inside 1,000 eyes that loved them without knowing them. Jungkook learned early how to turn pain into pitch, fear into power. It made him indestructible on stage and hollow afterward. He sleeps with the lights on in unfamiliar hotels. He counts the seconds between heartbeats when anxiety spikes, a private metronome that no one taught him how to silence. He hums old melodies when the world feels too loud, the same ones his mother sang when he was a boy afraid of storms. Jimin, on the other hand, is terrified of stillness. He fills it with care, straightening jackets, offering water, smiling until his cheeks ache. He learned to be the calm in other people's storms because his own once drowned him. He fears the moment when pretending becomes permanent, when love turns into a beautiful lie he can never correct. Tonight, pretending ended backstage earlier, the corridor smelled of hairspray and ozone. The countdown clock pulsed red. Jimin had found Jungkook alone, knuckles white around a towel, eyes unfocused. Encore, Jungkook had said softly, like it was a verdict. Jimin touched his wrist once, twice, a habit he never questioned, and felt the tremor. The words rose in him like a tide he could not hold back anymore. Now, on stage, the tremor has become an earthquake. Jungkook steps away from the mic and the band cuts, startled. Silence crashes. He lifts his head and the screens catch his eyes, wet and bright. "I can't," he says, voice cracking, not singing, just speaking. It is the bravest thing he has ever done. "I can't sing right now." The crowd quiets, a living thing stunned into reverence. Jimin turns then, finally, and meets his gaze. The years between them, shared flights, shared secrets, shared silences, collapse into a single look that says everything they never dared. Jimin walks forward. Not a dance step. A human one. He takes the mic from Jungkook with gentle certainty and the feel of it steadies him. His voice, when it comes, is low and clear. He doesn't need to sing to be heard. A ripple moves through the stadium. Cameras scramble. Managers freeze. Jimin keeps going, because stopping now would mean retreating forever. "We've been taught to give you perfection. Tonight, we're giving you truth." He hands the mic back. Jungkook's fingers brush his. Electricity flares, familiar and terrifying. Jungkook exhales, long and shaky, and nods once. He doesn't sing the encore. He speaks it instead, telling them about fear and love and the way holding everything inside can steal your voice. The words are imperfect and real, and they land harder than any high note. When the lights finally fade, when the roar turns into a distant ocean, Jungkook leans into Jimin's shoulder backstage and cries without apology. Jimin holds him, feeling the weight and warmth and reality of him, grounding himself in the simple truth of touch. The smell of sweat and metal and roses fills the air. For the first time, the silence does not scare them. Later, alone, Jungkook rests his forehead against Jimin's and laughs softly. "You ruined my encore." Jimin smiles, tears shining. "No," he says. "I saved your voice." They don't know what tomorrow will bring: headlines, consequences, questions without easy answers. But tonight, love is no longer hidden in harmonies and glances. It stands, trembling and alive, in the open air, and that is enough. The door slams so hard the walls shudder, and the echo rings through the corridor like a gunshot. "What the hell were you thinking?" The manager's voice slices the air, sharp enough to draw blood. Jungkook flinches, but Jimin doesn't step back. He plants his feet, shoulders squared, breathing slow on purpose. His hands are still warm from holding Jungkook minutes ago, and he refuses to let that warmth turn into fear. "I was thinking he couldn't breathe," Jimin says quietly. "So I helped him." "This isn't a therapy room," the manager snaps. "It's a stadium. A contract. Millions of eyes. Millions of dollars." Jungkook laughs, sudden and brittle. "Funny. Because for a second out there, I thought I was going to pass out and die. How much is that worth?" Silence crashes down, thick and suffocating. The hum of the air conditioner sounds too loud, too intrusive, like it's eavesdropping. The manager pinches the bridge of his nose. "You don't get to improvise honesty on stage." Jimin's jaw tightens. Then maybe the system is broken. The words hang there, dangerous and undeniable. They're ushered into a smaller room, no cameras, no staff except one assistant pretending not to listen. Jungkook sinks onto a couch, elbows on knees, fingers locked together so tightly his knuckles blanch. His breathing is still uneven, like his body hasn't realized the danger has passed. Jimin sits beside him, close enough that their shoulders touch. Jungkook doesn't pull away. That alone feels revolutionary. "I'm sorry," Jungkook murmurs, staring at the floor. "I didn't mean to drag you into this." Jimin turns to him, voice low but fierce. "Don't you dare apologize for surviving." Jungkook looks up then, eyes red, glossy, searching. "You said it like you'd already decided. Like you knew it would blow everything up." "I did know," Jimin admits. His heartbeat is loud in his ears, but his voice doesn't shake. "I just didn't care anymore." "That's the scary part," Jungkook whispers. "I cared too much. That's why I froze. If I sang, I'd be lying again. And I don't think I can do that. Not after what you said." Jimin swallows. "What I said wasn't new. It was just audible." The door opens without warning. Another executive steps in, smile tight, eyes calculating. "We're trending worldwide," she says. Half the internet thinks this was scripted brilliance. The other half thinks it was a meltdown. Jungkook lets out a hollow chuckle. Both wrong. She looks between them, lingering a second too long on how close they're sitting. "We need a statement." Jimin straightens. No, her eyebrow arches. "Excuse me?" "No statement that erases what happened," Jimin says. "No narrative that turns his panic into a performance." Jungkook feels something crack open in his chest at the way Jimin says his instead of the brand name they're always reduced to. "This is bigger than you," she says coolly. Jungkook stands. His legs tremble, but he stays upright. "It's bigger than me too. That's the problem." The room goes very still. "For years," Jungkook continues, voice rough but steady, "I've been told my voice belongs to everyone. Tonight, it didn't. And I realized something terrifying." He looks at Jimin, just for a second, then back at them. "If I lose that realization, I lose myself." No one interrupts him. Jimin watches Jungkook with a mix of pride and fear so intense it almost hurts. He knows the cost of this courage. He knows the knives that will come wrapped in polite words later, when they're finally alone in the dorm, the city humming outside the windows like a restless beast. Jungkook collapses onto the floor, back against the couch. He drags a hand through his hair, laughs again, this time softer. "My mom's going to see all of this," he says. Jimin sits beside him on the floor. "She raised someone brave." Jungkook turns his head, studying Jimin's face like he's memorizing it. "Why tonight?" Jimin hesitates, then answers honestly. Because I was scared if I waited, I'd get used to hiding forever. Jungkook's throat tightens. I was scared too. Of wanting something I wasn't allowed to name. The distance between them feels electric, unbearable. Jimin exhales slowly. Say it, then. Even if it's just here. Jungkook's voice drops to a whisper. I love you. Not like a concept. Not like a secret. Like this. He gestures helplessly between them. Jimin's breath catches, tears slipping free before he can stop them. He laughs through them, a sound full of relief and ache. I love you too. That's why I broke the rule. They sit there, knees touching, hands finally intertwined without choreography, without cameras, without permission outside. Notifications explode, theories spiral, opinions sharpen into weapons. Inside that small room, two people choose each other anyway, knowing the world will not make it easy, knowing tomorrow will demand answers neither of them fully has yet, but for tonight, Jungkook can breathe. And for the first time, Jimin isn't afraid of the silence. The phone vibrates non-stop on the table, a furious insect that refuses to die. Jungkook stares at it like it might bite him. I'm not ready, he says, voice hoarse. Whatever it is. I'm not ready. Jimin reaches over and flips the phone face down without looking at the screen. The silence that follows feels heavier than the noise ever did. Then don't answer it yet. They won't stop, Jungkook mutters. They never do. Morning light leaks through the curtains, pale and unforgiving, exposing everything the night had softened. The dorm smells faintly of coffee someone forgot to finish, of sweat and adrenaline and something raw that hasn't settled yet. Jungkook's eyes burn from lack of sleep, but his body hums like he's still on stage. Jimin leans against the counter, arms crossed, trying to look calm while his chest tightens with every passing second. He knows this quiet is temporary. The storm is already here, it's just circling. The door buzzes, both of them freeze. Jungkook's jaw clenches. That'll be them. Jimin exhales, slow and controlled. Then we face it. He opens the door to a room suddenly too full. Managers, executives, assistants pretending not to stare, all carrying tablets and tension. The air changes instantly, colder, sharper. We need to talk, one of them says. Jungkook doesn't sit when they gesture to the couch. He stays standing, hands shaking openly now. About what? My breakdown? Or the part where I stopped pretending? A few glances flicker. No one answers right away. Finally, the senior executive clears her throat. You crossed a line. Jimin steps forward. So did the pressure that put him there. That pressure built his career. She fires back. Jungkook laughs, bitter and loud. It almost destroyed me. The words slam into the room, unfiltered, uncontrollable. Jungkook feels his heart racing, but instead of fear, there's a strange clarity blooming in his chest. You want a statement, he continues. Here it is. I had a panic attack. I couldn't sing. And someone I love didn't let me drown in it. The room erupts. Someone new, a manager, starts. Jimin doesn't wait. Yes, he says, voice steady, eyes blazing. Someone he loves. Gasps. Shock. Someone swears under their breath. This is exactly the kind of thing that ends careers. The executive snaps. Jimin's lips curl into a small, defiant smile. Or changes them. Jungkook turns to Jimin then, eyes wide, breath caught. You don't have to. I do. Jimin cuts in softly, never breaking eye contact. I've been quiet for too long. The arguments swirl around them, words like damage control and image and contracts thrown like weapons. Jungkook feels himself drifting, the noise blurring, until Jimin's hand finds his wrist, grounding him. Look at me, Jimin whispers. Jungkook does. The room fades. All he sees is the familiar curve of Jimin's mouth, the determination etched into his face, the fear he's choosing to carry anyway. I'm here, Jimin says. I'm not leaving you alone in this. Something in Jungkook breaks open completely. I was terrified, Jungkook says aloud, voice trembling but strong. Not of losing fans. Of losing myself. I didn't know who I was without the stage telling me what to be. The executive scoffs. This is emotional indulgence. No, Jungkook replies, eyes burning. This is survival. The silence that follows is brutal. Eventually, the meeting ends without victory for anyone. No neat conclusion, No agreement that doesn't come with consequences. The threat lingers in the air like smoke. When the door finally closes behind them, Jungkook's legs give out. He sinks onto the couch, head in his hands, breath shuddering. Jimin kneels in front of him immediately. "Hey, stay with me." Jungkook laughs weakly. "You really like standing in front of bullets, don't you?" Jimin cups his face, thumbs brushing away tears Jungkook didn't realize were falling. "Only if they're aimed at you." Jungkook's chest aches. "I don't want to be your burden." "You're not," Jimin says fiercely. "You're my choice." Jungkook pulls him closer, foreheads touching, their breaths sinking. "I'm scared," he admits. "Of what comes next? Of being seen." Jimin closes his eyes. "Me too. But I'm more scared of going back." They sit there, tangled together, while the city outside wakes up, unaware of how much has shifted inside that small room. Later, Jungkook stands by the window, watching the sunlight spill across the floor. "If everything changes," he says quietly, "promise me one thing." Jimin steps beside him. "Anything. Don't let me hide again," Jungkook whispers. "Even if it's easier." Jimin slips his fingers through Jungkook's, squeezing gently. "I won't. And if you try, I'll remind you who you are." Jungkook smiles then, small but real. For the first time, the future doesn't feel like a cage. It feels terrifying, uncertain, and honest. And somehow, that makes him breathe easier than he has in years. The car door shuts with a muted thud, sealing them inside a moving box of glass and leather and unspoken fear. Jungkook stares out the window as the city blurs past, jaw tight, knee bouncing uncontrollably. "They're going to spin this," he says. "They always do." Jimin watches his reflection in the darkened glass, the way his eyes flicker like he's bracing for impact. "Let them try," Jimin replies. "We know the truth." Jungkook lets out a sharp breath, knowing it doesn't stop it from hurting. The phone buzzes again. Jungkook flinches this time, not even pretending he's calm. Jimin reaches over and takes the phone from his hand without asking. "I'll read it," Jimin says. Jungkook shakes his head. "You don't have to protect me from everything." "I'm not," Jimin says softly. "I'm protecting you from this moment." He reads the message, his expression hardening with every line. "They want a press conference. Today." Jungkook laughs, a sound edged with disbelief. "Of course they do." "While I'm still shaking." "They're afraid the story will grow teeth," Jimin says. "They want to control it before it bites back." Jungkook presses his forehead to the cool window. "What if I say something wrong?" Jimin leans closer. "What if you say something true?" That makes Jungkook turn. Their faces are inches apart now, the space between them charged and dangerous. "Truth is expensive," Jungkook whispers. "So is silence," Jimin answers. The building they arrive at is all glass and sharp angles, reflecting the sky like it's trying to look innocent. Inside, the air smells like polish and nerves. Staff move quickly, avoiding eye contact, whispers following them like ghosts. In a waiting room that feels more like an interrogation chamber, Jungkook paces. "I can't do this," he says suddenly. "I can't sit there and let them dissect us." Jimin steps into his path. "Then don't let them. They'll ask about us," Jungkook says, voice rising. "They'll ask if it's real or just some stunt." Jimin's eyes soften, but his voice doesn't. "Then answer them." Jungkook swallows hard. "What if that ruins everything?" Jimin takes his hands, grounding him. "What if hiding already did?" The door opens. 5 minutes, an assistant says, not meeting their eyes. Jungkook's breath stutters. "I don't want to lose you because of this." Jimin squeezes his hands. "You won't. You might lose comfort. You might lose approval. But you won't lose me." Jungkook's eyes shine. "Say it again." "I'm not going anywhere," Jimin says, firm and unyielding. They walk into the press room together. The lights hit them like an attack. Cameras click, rapid and relentless. Jungkook feels his pulse in his throat, but he keeps walking, because Jimin is beside him, solid and real. The first question is sharp and immediate. "Was last night a planned performance?" Jungkook leans into the microphone. His hands tremble, but his voice doesn't disappear this time. No, another reporter jumps in. Are you confirming a romantic relationship between you and your bandmate? The room holds its breath. Jimin doesn't wait. Yes. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Jungkook's heart slams so hard he thinks it might crack his ribs. Jungkook turns to him, stunned. You didn't even let me. Jimin meets his gaze, unwavering. You don't have to carry this alone. A reporter shouts, isn't this inappropriate? Unprofessional? Jungkook's fear flashes, then burns away. He leans forward. What's inappropriate is pretending we're not human. Another voice cuts through. Are you afraid of backlash? Jungkook exhales, long and honest. I'm afraid of going back to a place where I can't breathe. Jimin adds quietly, and I'm afraid of a world where love is treated like a scandal. The questions come faster, sharper, some supportive, some cruel. Jungkook feels exposed, flayed open under fluorescent lights, but every time he falters, Jimin's presence steadies him. After it's over, after they're ushered out through a side door, Jungkook collapses into the backseat again, shaking. I did it, he says, half laughing, half crying. I actually did it. Jimin pulls him into an embrace without hesitation. You were incredible. Jungkook buries his face in Jimin's shoulder. I was terrified. I know, Jimin murmurs. You were still brave. Outside, the world erupts. Headlines explode. Opinions clash. Love and hate surge in equal measure. Inside the car, Jungkook breathes in Jimin's scent, familiar, grounding, and whispers, no more hiding. Jimin presses a kiss to his hair, a promise sealed without words. The hotel hallway smells like disinfectant and expensive flowers, a strange mix of sterility and forced celebration. Jungkook's phone vibrates again and again in his pocket, but he doesn't look at it this time. He already knows the world is on fire. Inside the suite, the door clicks shut, and the silence is immediate, brutal. They're calling you reckless, Jungkook says, finally pulling his phone out, voice flat. They're calling me manipulated. Jimin drops his jacket onto a chair with more force than necessary. They always need a villain. Jungkook looks up sharply. And you're fine being that. Jimin turns to him, eyes blazing. If that's the price of not lying about us. Yes. Jungkook's chest tightens. I didn't ask you to sacrifice everything. Jimin steps closer. You didn't have to. The air between them crackles, heavy with everything they haven't said yet. Jungkook runs a hand through his hair, pacing. I've spent my whole life trying not to disappoint anyone. Fans. Family. The company. His voice cracks. I don't even know how to exist without apologizing. Jimin's expression softens, but his voice stays sharp. Then stop apologizing to people who benefit from your silence. Jungkook lets out a shaky laugh. You make it sound so simple. It's not, Jimin says. It's terrifying. That's why it matters. A knock at the door cuts through them. Jungkook freezes. Who now? Before either of them can answer, the door opens. Another executive steps inside, face tight with controlled anger. That press conference was unauthorized. Jimin crosses his arms. And honest. This isn't a moral debate, the executive snaps. Sponsors are pulling out. Schedules are being reconsidered. Jungkook feels the words like physical blows. Reconsidered how? The executive hesitates. There's talk of a hiatus. For you. Jungkook's breath stutters. For me. Jimin steps forward immediately. You can't punish him for being human. The executive scoffs. This isn't punishment. It's damage control. Jungkook's hands clench into fists. So I disappear. Again. The executive meets his gaze. It would be temporary. Quiet things down. Jungkook laughs, bitter and sharp. You mean erase me until I'm convenient. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Jimin's voice cuts through it like a blade. If he goes, I go. The executive's eyes widen. You can't be serious. I am, Jimin says without hesitation. I'm done watching him break so the brand can stay intact. Jungkook turns to Jimin, stunned. You don't get to decide that. Jimin looks at him, intense and unwavering. I get to decide what I stand for. The executive exhales sharply. Think very carefully about what you're doing. We have, Jimin says. 4 years. The door slams shut behind the executive, leaving a vacuum of sound and consequence. Jungkook sinks onto the edge of the bed, head in his hands. You didn't have to do that. Jimin kneels in front of him, forcing him to look up. Yes, I did. Because if they separate us like this, they win. Jungkook's eyes fill. I'm so tired, Jimin. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this. Jimin presses his forehead to Jungkook's. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to be honest. Jungkook laughs through tears. That honesty might cost me everything. Or it might give you yourself back, Jimin whispers. Jungkook's hands grip Jimin's sleeves, desperate. What if they really take the stage away from me? Jimin doesn't flinch. Then we build something new. Somewhere you can breathe. The words settle deep, dangerous and hopeful all at once. Jungkook closes his eyes. I've never let myself imagine a life without this. Jimin cups his face gently. Imagine a life with me in it. Everything else is negotiable. Jungkook opens his eyes, heart pounding. You're serious. I've never been more serious about anything, Jimin replies. Outside, sirens echo in the distance. Online, debates rage, love collides with hate, support clashes with condemnation. Inside the room, 2 people sit on the edge of something irreversible. Jungkook exhales slowly, grounding himself. If they push me into hiding again, he says quietly, I might break for real. Jimin squeezes his hands. Then don't hide. Even if it costs us comfort. Even if it costs us applause. Jungkook nods, tears sliding down his cheeks. Stay with me. Jimin smiles, soft and fierce all at once. Always. And somewhere deep inside Jungkook, beneath the fear and noise, a fragile certainty begins to form. Whatever comes next will hurt, but this time, it will be real. The night fractures without warning. Jungkook wakes to shouting in the hallway, sharp voices slicing through sleep like glass. His heart slams into motion before his mind catches up. He sits up too fast, dizziness blooming, and the room swims, city lights smeared across the windows, curtains half drawn like they couldn't decide whether to hide or reveal another knock. Not polite. Demanding. Jimin is already on his feet, jaw set, moving with the kind of calm that only comes when fear has decided to become purpose. Stay here, he murmurs, but Jungkook is already standing. I'm not hiding, Jungkook says, voice rough, resolute. Jimin exhales, a tight smile flashing. Then stand with me. The door opens to chaos. 2 managers, an assistant with red eyes, phones in their hands like weapons. Words collide immediately, contracts, clauses, morality, image, none of them landing softly. This has escalated, one manager says. There are threats. Protest trucks outside the building. Jungkook's chest tightens. Threats because I told the truth. Because you confirmed a relationship, another snaps. You made it political. Jimin steps forward. Love isn't politics. Your fear is. That's naive, the manager shoots back. You think the world is ready for this. Jungkook's voice cuts through, sudden and shaking but loud. I wasn't ready to almost collapse on stage either. No one asked me then. Silence detonates. Jungkook feels his pulse roaring in his ears, but he keeps going, because stopping now would mean shrinking back into a version of himself he barely survived. You trained me to smile through pain, to sing through panic. And the moment I stop pretending, you call it dangerous. One manager scoffs. You're endangering the group. Jimin's eyes flash. No. You endangered him. The assistant's phone rings. She pales as she listens, nods, hangs up. There's a statement being drafted without your approval, she says quietly. It frames last night as exhaustion and misunderstanding. Jungkook laughs, hollow. So I get erased again. Jimin turns to the managers, voice deadly calm. If you release that, I go live and tell everything. Not hints. Not metaphors. Everything. You wouldn't, someone says. Jimin meets their gaze. Watch me. The room vibrates with the weight of that threat. Jungkook stares at Jimin, heart hammering, fear and or tangling until he can't separate them. You don't have to burn yourself down for me, he says softly. Jimin doesn't look at him. I'm not burning. I'm choosing. They leave under cover of chaos, escorted through back elevators, the sound of distant shouting echoing up the shaft like a warning. In the car, Jungkook finally brakes. His hands shake uncontrollably, breath coming too fast. I didn't think loving you would feel like this, he whispers. Like standing in front of a firing squad. Jimin pulls him close without hesitation. I didn't think hiding it would nearly kill you. Jungkook presses his forehead into Jimin's neck, voice muffled. What if this destroys everything we built? Jimin's arms tighten. What if it finally builds something honest? The car stops somewhere quiet, far from glass towers and screaming headlines. A borrowed apartment. Safe, for now. The door closes, and the stillness inside is almost sacred. Jungkook sinks onto the floor, back against the wall, breath uneven. I'm so angry, he admits. At them. At myself. At how scared I still am. Jimin sits beside him, knees touching. Anger means you know you deserve better. Jungkook laughs weakly. I deserve you. Jimin turns, eyes fierce and soft at once. You deserve love that doesn't ask you to disappear. Jungkook's eyes fill again. I keep waiting for the moment you regret this. Jimin shakes his head. I regret not doing it sooner. They sit there, tangled in the aftermath, while outside the world keeps arguing about whether they're allowed to exist this way. Jungkook listens to Jimin's breathing, steady and grounding, and something inside him finally settles, not the fear, not the uncertainty, but the knowledge that he is no longer alone in it. Later, when Jungkook's phone buzzes again, he looks at it this time. A message from his mother. Simple. Unconditional. I saw you. I'm proud of you. I love you. His breath catches. He hands the phone to Jimin, unable to speak. Jimin reads it, eyes shining. See, he says softly. Not everything breaks. Jungkook nods, tears spilling freely. If this costs me the stage, he says quietly, I don't know who I'll be. Jimin leans in, forehead resting against his. You'll be Jungkook. Not a product. Not a fantasy. A person who chose truth over fear. Jungkook closes his eyes, letting that sink in. The future is still loud, still dangerous, still uncertain, but for the first time, it feels like something he's allowed to walk into, hand in hand, unhidden, heart exposed and still beating. The morning comes softly, almost apologetic. Sunlight spills across the floor of the borrowed apartment, warm and pale, touching Jungkook's face like a question instead of a demand. He wakes slowly, for once not jolted by alarms or schedules or the weight of expectation. For a brief moment, he doesn't know where he is. Then he feels it, an arm around his waist, a steady heartbeat against his back. Jimin. The realization settles him more than sleep ever has. You're awake, Jimin murmurs, voice rough with exhaustion, fingers tightening slightly as if afraid Jungkook might vanish. Jungkook turns in his arms, studying Jimin's face in the morning light. There are dark circles under his eyes, tension etched into the lines of his brow, but there's something else too. Peace. Fragile, hard one, real. I slept, Jungkook says quietly, almost surprised. All the way through. Jimin smiles faintly. Guess your body finally believed you're safe. Jungkook exhales, a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. I don't know what happens now. Jimin doesn't pretend he does. Neither do I. They lie there for a while, listening to the city wake up beyond the walls. Somewhere far away, sirens wail. Somewhere closer, a bird sings from a ledge it probably shouldn't trust. Life, messy and stubborn, goes on. Jungkook finally sits up, pulling the blanket around his shoulders. They'll call again, he says. They'll offer compromises. Conditions. Silence with nicer words. Jimin nods. And I don't think I can go back, Jungkook says. His voice doesn't shake this time. Even if they give me the stage. Even if they promise safety. I know what it costs now. Jimin reaches for his hand. What do you want? The question lands gently, but it hits deeper than any demand Jungkook has ever faced. He closes his eyes, feeling the answer rise from somewhere quiet and certain. I want to sing without fear, he says. And when I can't sing, I want to still be allowed to exist. He opens his eyes and looks at Jimin. I want you. Openly. without flinching every time someone looks too closely. Jimin's breath catches. That path won't be easy. Jungkook smiles, small but unafraid. Neither was the one before. It just lied about it. Later, they sit at the kitchen table with mugs of coffee gone cold, phones buzzing unanswered. Jungkook scrolls once more through the messages, some cruel, some loving, some painfully confused. He doesn't respond. He sets the phone down. I used to think my voice was the only thing I had, he says. That without it, I was nothing. Jimin watches him closely. And now? Now I know it was never just my voice, Jungkook replies. It was my heart. I just didn't know I was allowed to protect it. Jimin reaches across the table, lacing their fingers together. I wish I could promise you it'll all work out perfectly. Jungkook squeezes his hand. Don't. Just promise you won't disappear. Jimin's answer is immediate, unwavering. I'm here. I choose you. Every version. Every consequence. Jungkook's eyes fill again, but this time the tears don't feel like collapse. They feel like release. Days later, when the official announcement finally comes, it isn't dramatic. No spectacle. Just a simple statement about rest, reflection, and moving forward differently. The world reacts the way it always does, too loudly, too quickly, but Jungkook reads it from a quiet room, Jimin beside him, and feels no urge to apologize. One evening, weeks after the encore that changed everything, Jungkook stands in a small studio with no cameras, no audience. Just a microphone and Jimin leaning against the wall, watching. You don't have to, Jimin says gently. I know, Jungkook replies that he closes his eyes and sings. Not for perfection. Not for approval. Just because the sound wants to exist. His voice wavers, then steadies, raw and unpolished and undeniably alive. When he finishes, the silence doesn't scare him. Jimin applauds softly, eyes shining. There you are. Jungkook smiles, breathless, heart full. He steps down from the mic and walks straight into Jimin's arms. This time, there is no stage separating them, no encore waiting, no secret left to guard. Just two people, standing in the aftermath of truth, choosing love not because it is safe, but because it is real. And for Jungkook, at last, that is enough.